Hey guys, welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married businessmen save their marriages without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and gain clarity in their lives. As I like to say, life is too short for average. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Now let's get this started. Gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. Tim, how you doing, brother?
I am doing very well. I am doing very well. What about yourself?
I'm doing well also, man. Good day. I had some good family time last night. I'm heading out for a trip, as you know, tomorrow. So really spending a lot of quality time with the kids and the wife and really enjoying myself.
Good. Yeah, it was a great picture of you paddleboarding with Bodie.
Yeah, it's been so much fun paddleboarding on the lakes, and I get the kids on there and get to cruise around and have a good time. When you're on a paddleboard, you can see the bottom of the lakes and the shallow areas. And so the kids absolutely love it. And it's so much fun to be out there. And,
Yeah.
reflecting, I was talking to one of our guys and he was also reflecting, he had completely changed his marriage. Like he turned it around. You'll probably know the guy I'm talking about, but I don't want to oust him per se, but he, was literally his wife had packed her bags, leaving out the door. And he joined the program. And within 3 weeks, he was able to turn it around. Now he's graduated the program and he and I were just reflecting as I was walking. And it got me to remember, when I posted that picture of Bodie and I, Erin, my wife, was on the beach with my daughter and just the total difference, right? Back then when my marriage wasn't working, that just completely consumed me, right? My wife and I had been fighting about the fact that I took the paddleboard out and left her alone, or whatever else it may be. Everything was a fight and everything seemed horrible. And fast forward to today, my wife's completely supports me. I had to come down here, or got to come down here for this podcast and do the show with you. So she got breakfast ready for me, kiss before. Hey, make sure I get a kiss before you go to work. So it's
Hmm.
a complete 180. And this guy and I were just reflecting on that and how that change once you get your relationships sorted and your marriage working again, how that just changes everything in your life.
Yeah, and look, kudos to you because obviously we were sat in Cancun after the team retreat. You, Arthur, and I, one of the master coaches, we're all sharing. Hey, where could we improve? Right, personally and professionally, we all gave each other feedback. And naturally, there's always ways we can improve in our relationship, for example. And you took responsibility for a couple of areas that you felt like you weren't showing up as much as you could, as did we. And you've gone back and you've taken action. And I think it's really important to just mention that, right? Because that was 2 months ago, I think. Not that things weren't great then, they were, and it's different now. It evolves, it progresses. But it isn't because, hey, one day it was it wasn't so great, then the next day it was good, and it just stays good the entire time. You're continually in the conversation with yourself, and as a result continually making course corrections, and it's never the finished product, right?
No, there's always a gap and you're always on the journey. Like we say at the end of this podcast, right? In the moment of insight, take massive action. And, I'm fortunate enough to surround myself with amazing men. You and Arthur are two of them. And when we gave me the insight, and what I asked was, basically, where in my life do you see that I can improve upon, right? Or am I falling short? Or I can't remember exactly the question I asked. And you guys gave me very direct feedback. And, you guys are both amazing men. And I honor that. And the feedback you gave me, of course, I put it through my own filters. Is this true for me? And it was. And, we eat our own cooking at the Powerful Man, so to speak, right? We don't just talk about this stuff and not do it. We're not perfect. My marriage isn't always perfect. My wife and I still can get in arguments here and there. It's completely different. But yeah, we're always constantly improving and looking for that next iteration. And I think all men, that's especially entrepreneurs and businessmen, we're built that way, right? We're on the
Mhm.
frontiers. We're leading the charge all the time. And, when we're on that adventure we call life, this is really what we want to do, is have that constant, never ending improvement. And
Mm.
you got to take action. You just got to, you and I see guys that come into the program all the time and they bitch and moan and complain, and they don't get results until they actually do the work. It's just like going to the gym, right? You can bitch and complain all the time about not being in shape, But you got to go. You got to lift the weights. You got to, put your running shoes on or whatever else it is. Nobody can do it for you.
Mm. I always say the journey is the destination, right?
Yep.
Um, a wise man that listens to this podcast once said, "Hey, I don't want all my loops to be closed. If my loops are closed, that means the journey is complete. I am dead."
Yeah.
Ah, wise man, wise man. When I repeated that back to him on a coaching call last week, it's like, who said that? Like, you said it. It's like, no, like you did. He's like,
uh,
oh, nice. I want to use that more often. But anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about today is the idea of FOMO, right? The idea of the fear of missing out. So, um, you laugh. So I imagine you've got some idea where this may go. Um,
I know one or two people that struggle with it.
yeah, me and you. Um, Obviously, we're constantly looking to improve the team at the Powerful Man to further support the men in the movement, as the listeners are aware, and as you know. And so we've recently brought on somebody else to the team, right? A videographer, which is very exciting. And it's something that you and I have wanted for a while. And credit to the gentleman that's joining the team who's willing to relocate and come and be close to you so you can go out and film some great content and, create an amazing impact in the world, right? I love it. Naturally, my reaction is, hey, I want that as well. Amelia, people aren't going to move here. It's too remote. We need to move so that I can get a videographer so that I can do that content too. I want to do that content. That sounds so fun. I want to be in that zone. Oh my, that'd be so great, right? Immediately, FOMO. Luckily, I'm able to say it to you and I can laugh at it. And there's some truth to it, obviously. And at
Yeah.
the same time, I don't let it take me down. But there's the importance of this is knowing where you're at, right? Because in the past, Tim 1.0, if you will, let's say this is Tim 2.0, he definitely would have fallen into that trap and I would have chased shiny objects completely. And before I know it, I would have taken so much on and created so many open loops that I would have just been busy and not really been effective. And it all would have come from a place of fear and scarcity, not wanting to miss out. And as a result, I'd end up on the path of force, living from the outside in, which is, business forms the base of the pyramid. Then you've got wealth, and above that, relationships, but doesn't the energy never really rises as high as the third territory. And above that, you've got health and then self, but it never really reaches those top three, right? And as a result, you enter the five agonies, and life is hard, life is tough. When you live from the inside out, you shift from the path of force to the path of power. That triangle flips on its head. Self is at the base, health is above that, then relationships, and wealth, then business. Um, and there's a little insight that Arthur, to his credit, often talks about that came to mind for me when I've realized I was getting the FOMO. And he talks about JOMO, right? The joy of missing out. And it's the idea of knowing your lane, right? Being on the path of power, knowing your lane and being able to resist the temptation so that you stay in your lane. I don't want to say you live a simplistic life because it's not simplistic. It's effective and it's focused. As a result, you can't take everything on. So I just wanted to talk about this topic, your experience with it, what you've seen, how you've seen the men maybe experience this as well that we work with, what the listeners can then do to shift it if they find themselves on the path of force, taking too much on because they're chasing shiny objects. Maybe dive into a little bit more where that comes from and where that's come from you in the past and what they can do to shift.
This is a great topic. And I've actually never heard Arthur mention JOMO. I love that idea, the joy of missing out. So let's expand on that a little bit later. Yeah, we all get FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Now, it could be fear of missing out in relationships, right? Maybe it's another woman that you wanted to be with or want to be with, and your marriage isn't working. So you're starting to think about your college sweetheart or, whoever it may be from a former past life. And, did I miss that? Or, am I missing out by not, doing X, Y, and Z? For some guys have mentioned, am I missing out by not having an affair? right? And doing things when my life is not going well. So there's definitely the FOMO in that category. And in business, we often talk about it. I mean, I've bought more courses on business
Mhm.
than anyone could ever in a lifetime go through. And you and I were talking to a guy that we're coaching with, and he even mentioned like, hey, he no longer purchases anything that doesn't relate to his theme, so to speak, right? Whatever
Mm.
that theme may be. So if you're listening to this, let's just say your theme in business is, I don't know, finance. So in this idea, and I guess this is the JOMO, is you might see something on how to get new leads from LinkedIn. And you're like, oh, that looks really good. My business needs more leads. The sales team needs help. And so you grab the course. Well, you've just diluted your ability to learn about finance because now you're chasing down the rabbit hole of LinkedIn leads as just an example. And the same thing could be a relationship. When you start having FOMO about being in a different relationship, or you're missing out because your relationship's not going as well, but yet you're focusing on something different, right? You're diluting your ability to improve and improve upon where you're at. And the fear of missing out is really this whole grass is greener on the other side. It really just feeds our excuse machine, right? Because if I had the fill in the blank, then my life would be good, right? And most of us men go through this model of have, do, be. Well, if I have the thing, then I get to do the this other thing, and then I get to be happy, or then I get to be successful, or whatever you might want to say. So when I have the amazing marriage, then I get to have a lot of sex, and then I get to be satisfied, right? A lot of men have this idea when really what we teach the powerful man is the opposite. And might be the JOMO. It's be, do, have. So you can't be in FOMO if you're in be, do, have. You just can't,
Mm.
right? And we all go in and out of it. So the truth is, for a lot of the guys that are looking to have more sex, if they were satisfied, if they were more happy in their state of mind, then they would basically, that's be do. Then they would do the things that happy people do. They go paddleboarding with their son in the lake and their
Mm.
family, and do all these other things that are awesome instead of grinding it out in the office on a weekend or what have you. And that's when, be do have, then you get the end result. Then you get an amazing family, a picture I'm able to share with our team. It's a different context. And we all fall into
Mhm.
it. I'm a learning nerd in that sense. I just want to learn so much. I want to travel. I want to venture. I want to do all of these things to the detriment of myself quite often. And when I'm in that state of FOMO, I'm missing out on Tim's running this part of the organization. Oh man, he gets to do all the fun stuff. You get into that story of FOMO. I'm missing out because Tim gets to do this. Right now, I'm in a state of scarcity, right? And I think, when I get to do what Tim's doing, that's when I'm going to be happy. And we all go through it. Every single person, I don't care who you are, it's a human condition. The key is recognizing it, in my opinion. Then my favorite part about this, and I know we just did a study on archetypes, Tim, and one comes high up for me is the jester. So maybe that's why it works for me, is I start laughing at myself in the situation. I just start laughing like, oh, Doug, come on, man. Like, how crazy is this? You literally have the life you've always wanted, and yet you're complaining about this thing over here. Like, come on, man. And it just helps me shift perspective, right? That laughing, that kind of being lighthearted with myself helps me shift perspective. And that puts me in what you said, flow versus force. Because if I try to learn how to use spreadsheets like Tim does, I have to force myself to do it. I have to really cram because I friggin' hate it. And it's just, but once I really love this, then I'm gonna really have a flow in my workforce. It's not true. It's not true.
Mm.
Once I
Yeah,
teach
that's what.
myself the love part. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, go finish. Yeah,
To
you
say
were right.
like the spreadsheets, I'll use that as an example because I had the story about I hated going through them. So what I did is I connected the feeling of joy with looking through the spreadsheets. So the B part, joy, and now it exponentially, changed the whole paradigm for me. And it's like a cheat code in life that most people aren't aware of. And that's what we teach in the activation method. The coaches go through this with the guys on an individual basis. How do you use this cheat code to save your marriage?
Mm. Yeah. Um, I like that. The angle I was going to go on with that was similar to you. I think when you're in this place of fear of missing out and you say yes to things that are really a no, sometimes for some guys, they don't really know what's a yes for themselves,
Hmm.
right? So they say yes to things just because they don't know what they do otherwise. And they get this feeling of guilt.
Yeah,
And the idea of them having space in their day or space in their week or whatever fills them with this idea of dread because it's, well, hang on a minute, what am I going to do? And they're not willing to be able to be in that place. So instead, and that's where the joy of missing out can come from as well. Because when you actually learn to be able to embrace that space, be it for thinking time, be it for time with your family, be it for whatever. Because we all know as well, right? If you're out there paddleboarding with Bodhi and you have been journaling about a problem you're looking to solve in TPM, probably you're going to get an insight when you're on the paddleboard some way, somehow, right? You let that idea,
100%.
uh, exactly, you let it marinate. But if you don't have that space, then you often don't get the insight, right? And that's where the fear of missing out completely comes from scarcity. It comes from fear. You're in an energy of lack. There is not enough. I am not enough. Therefore, you become needy. You become desperate. You take too many things on. This is when guys often say that their wives get frustrated with them because they say yes to everybody else outside of the house, yes to work, or yes to friends, or yes to going and changing the car tire, or yes to picking somebody up. But then they have nothing left to give the people they love. And then they turn around and say no to the wrong people. They say no to their wife or no to their kids. And they're left thinking, hang on a minute, I'm confused. Shouldn't you be saying yes to us and no to them? But because people pleasing can also weave into this for some of the guys, they want to be accepted, they want to be liked, which is kind of different to the fear of missing out, but it's also linked as well. Um, and it is a shift to your point, catching it and laughing at it, but also being able to reset, recalibrate your set point so you can find the joy in missing out because you realize that um, your your biggest level of happiness and joy and fulfillment, which at the end of the day, why are we doing anything we do in life? It's to achieve happiness, whether it's drinking beer or not, whether it's watching porn or not. These can be healthy or unhealthy behaviors. But either way, regardless of the behavior, you were doing it because you believe it's going to equal pleasure. It's going to bring you joy, right? And I think once, to your point, once you learn to associate that spaciousness, we'll just use that one, in your day or your week with joy, and you're able to overcome maybe whatever feelings are coming up for you in that space, be it the guilt or whatever, and you realize that, hang on a minute, when I say no to certain things, my life actually gets better. My life actually gets easier. I have less on my plate. Oh, those stories that I'm not effective if I'm not busy. Oh, okay, interesting. That's an interesting story. But hang on a minute, I'm happier. I have more energy. My workouts are better. My relationship then gets better. Oh, um, let me check this. You alluded to earlier one of the guys we spoke to, or someone we spoke to in the past week about themes and things that the purchases he makes. Well, obviously, you and I have just invested in another mentor, large investment, and this guy has worked with some high level athletes and some high level entrepreneurs and thought leaders. Worked at some top professional clubs, soccer clubs, Real Madrid being one of them. And one of the first things he said to us, Doug, is, "Hey, leveling up your performance over the next year isn't going to be about adding more to your plate. In fact, it's going to be all about subtracting. Because when you're entering into peak performance and levels of greatness, it's not about doing more, it's about doing less. And in doing so, doing more of the right things. Subtraction equals multiplication. And that's where the JOMO can come in."
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and that one in particular is one I need reminded of often. I'm sitting here, and as you were talking, it brought me back to a memory. Gosh, it feels like a lifetime ago, but at least 10 years ago. I distinctly remember where I was in Santa Barbara, California. Had three businesses at the time, And I'm standing outside of my business on the phone with my oldest brother, Brad, who's working to be a coach for us. And he goes, yeah, I had another business opportunity come across my plate, and I was an entrepreneur. I was a hustler. I was always looking for the next thing. Right. And I was having FOMO, right? I didn't want to miss out on this next business. Now I'm already running 3 companies, right? Which is insane. So, everybody thinking Friday night, I'm young, I own a gym, I'm out. I was at my desk, with a glass of wine working almost every Friday night, usually on a Saturday and a Sunday. I worked, worked, worked. And the reason I bring this up is my brother said, hey, I just got to tell you, when I talk to you and you're the happiest is when you've got one thing going on.
Hmm.
And he's like, that's when you're the happiest and the lightest. And you know what's also interesting? You're also the most profitable, which
Hmm.
makes complete sense now, right? At the time, I was like, oh my gosh, that's true. When I had one sole focus, maybe a side hustle, but one major focus, I was making more money profit wise, right? Because the other companies weren't draining it or I wasn't reinvesting. And I was a lot lighter because I wasn't working the Friday nights as much, the Saturdays, the Sundays. I was playing beach volleyball and doing all the other fun things the Santa Barbara lifestyle gives you. But the reason I kept going back in, it was FOMO. Right? I was afraid
Mm.
as a young entrepreneur or a younger entrepreneur that I was going to miss out. Right? I wanted to retire early, so then later I could do this, this, and this. Right? And now that I'm young, I can hustle. I can miss the weekend fun things and go through it. And it was really that FOMO that got me jammed up. And the FOMO that really probably jammed up my marriage too, when I think about it. But I distinctly remember that feeling of lightness. And I had, as you said, I had more clarity of mind when I was focused on one thing. I had space to do it. I could go out and paddleboard in the ocean then, now the lakes here. And you're out there, and that's when your insights come in, right? That's when the thoughts of like, oh, wow, we did
Mm.
X, Y, and Z. We could shortcut our time and we don't have to do all this other stuff. And we could help more people. This is amazing.
Mhm.
Like, but you can't get that, like you said, if you're constantly chasing, if you're constantly chasing after something.
Yeah. Those insights rarely come when you sat at your laptop.
No, no, no. You have a great thing that you share with the guys, and hope you don't mind me sharing it. Um, and you say something with the guys like, what if that thing that you've been chasing is
Mm.
actually chasing you and you're running so hard, all you have to do is stop and let it catch you?
Mm.
And I'm paraphrasing the way you say it, but when you say that to certain guys at the right, you're an amazing coach, Tim. So when you say at the right time, the right guy, you just see this light bulb switch and this aha moment go into the
Mhm.
guy's head of like, oh shit, what if I just slow down and let it catch me? And that's why we have guys that are in the inner circle, which is our advanced 1-year mastermind for those that don't know, but guys in the inner circle who are working less than they ever had and making more than they ever have. Right? If they're focusing on the right things, they're getting their marriage straight, not perfect, but just getting their house in order. And they're doing it in all the 5 territories: self, health, wealth, relationships, business, all 5, right? You got to start with one and then work on the others. You pick them off just like you would a business or anything else. And to your point, those of us that have the FOMO, we start working on the marriage, then we're like, oh, shoot, my health. Oh, shoot, my business. Oh, shoot, my wealth. Oh, shoot. And then everything crumbles. And I think the relationship is the cornerstone. And that's why we choose to focus on that with the men first.
Mm. Yep. I agree. So what's 3 practical steps? In fact, I'll take a step back. I forgot what I wanted to share, and then it's just come back to me. When you get FOMO and then you say yes to things that are really a no, oftentimes that's when you enter into covert contracts as well, right? In
Yeah.
fact, one of the guys on the inner circle call today was sharing this. He'd entered into some covert contracts with his wife, and he made a list of all the things he was doing for his wife, and this was a great thing he did. Which of those things would he still be doing if he knew that sex was completely off the table and could never happen again?
Ooh.
It was a great exercise,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to do it, but it was a great exercise. But it's the
For
same
him.
thing with FOMO, right? Yeah. Any relationship, business, friendship, intimate, whatever it is, if you're saying yes to things, that you don't really want to do, and you're saying yes out of a fear of missing out or to please the person or whatever it is, again, they're all linked, then you very likely run the risk of entering into a covert contract. That's where resentment builds, frustrations build, and there's no way you can live your most effective life, your happiest life, and perform at your highest when you're weighed down by all of that. You just can't. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I do that, that's when I then want to, I'm more likely to drink. I finish the day feeling wiped out. And then naturally, I'm just like, I need something. Like, I need, and, I used to kid myself and say, well, I can keep beer in the house and I won't touch it. But if there's a beer in the house and it's in the fridge, that is getting nailed. So I've learned that I just can't do that. Um, but yeah, I need something at that point because that's a signal for me that hang on a minute, something's a little bit out of alignment. So going back to what I was saying earlier, so it's three practical things the guys can do now if they're listening to this and they're resonating with the idea that hang on, I'm doing this, saying yes to things because of FOMO. I want to break it, have more JOMO.
More JOMO, less FOMO. Sounds like a t-shirt or slogan. So here's what I would do, Tim. I'm thinking about this. First thing I would do is pick one of the 5 territories that I want to focus on: self, health, wealth, relationships, and business. I know that's hard. The guys that come to us are business guys. So let's just put business to the shelf for now. But what are the other 4 do you really want to focus on? What would move the needle? And I like the rocking chair test. So said another way, you're 80 years old, you're sitting on the porch, you and I are together drinking lemonade or whatever else, bourbon, whatever else it may be, and you're reflecting on your life. What area, right, are you most proud of? The relationships you're in? Is it, something else? Most guys, it's relationships, right? Let's just call it what it is. So pick your lane, right? That's step 1. Step 2, look at the things that you're doing, the things that you're trying to do that aren't in that lane, right? If you guys are like me, you probably have courses you started and never finished, right? Classes you started and never finished, or hobbies. Throw all those things aside for now anyway, right? And if you have to tell yourself you can get back to them later, that's cool. That don't fit in that lane. So again, if it's relationships, you got to dive all in on the relationships, make that commitment. Step 3 is determine what the outcome is that you're desiring. What's the feeling, right? You said, Tim, you want to be happy. Okay, start doing that feeling now. Start figuring out a way to be, do, have versus have, do, be. Right. And that's just a conscious switch. And when you find yourself off the trail, you're watching another course on LinkedIn targeting or whatever it is, right? Just laugh at yourself and enjoy the ride and get back on the ship, right? Get back onto it. Find out ways to shorten the journey, whatever it may be. If it's relationships, I invite you to get on a call with one of our advisors about the activation method, which is a proven system for business owners, right? And entrepreneurs to help them save their marriage without having to talk about it. Guys turn around their marriages in less than 2 weeks at times. Now, most guys, it does take 6+ weeks to go through that process, but it happens. And we've got thousands of testimonials to prove it. If it's something else, right, figure out who out there can help you and what can help you and shorten that distance and go after it. Go after it with JOMO, right? Everything else is JOMO. Joy of missing out on that videographer coming to your place in Anglesey, whatever else it may be. No, really just embrace it and enjoy the ride.
Great advice. Can I add a couple?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind for me, and we've said this before, but I do wonder how many people, if they've heard this before, actually did it. Get a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle. On the left-hand side, write fuck yes. On the right-hand side, this is the top of the paper, write hell no. And take inventory of what you've currently got in your life. Be it the conversations you're having, the people, the projects, whatever, the places you go, the clothes you wear, and just assign them a column. Are they in the fuck yes or the hell no? Where do they sit? And then see what you've got on the hell no, right? There can be none in the middle. Be decisive. It's either one or the other. And pay attention to how it feels, because typically if it feels light and exciting, then that's a fuck yes. If it feels heavy or you just kind of, I'm not too sure, that's a hell no. And get those down. And look, some of you may not really have many in the fuck yes. And that's okay, right? We worked with a lot of guys that are in that position where their life has become a bit grey and they want it to go back to being multicolor. So there's no judgment if that's the case for you, but be real with yourself. And then you can look at, well, hang on a minute, how did these hell no's come into my life? Like, why? Why did I say yes to these things? And see if there's a pattern there for you within the FOMO, right? Did you say yes to these things, but really you didn't want to? And just start to dig a little bit deeper. Okay, well, why did I say yes to these things? And journal on this. See if you can pull out some patterns, some reasons. We've shared a lot on this podcast about what the reasons may be. So if you need to go back and listen to this, go ahead and do that. But get clear with yourself. And then the next time it comes up, watch it and just don't buy into it. A step further is you could set some alarms on your phone to go off at, let's say, 8 a.m., midday, 4 p.m., 8 p.m. Edit the label and they could say, am I living in FOMO, or am I living with FOMO or JOMO right now? And when those alarms go off, take 10 seconds from whatever you do and answer the question. That'll help to bring you back to, okay, what am I calibrating to?
Great advice. Great advice. Now, guys, it's up to you to actually do the work, of course, to go through this and get out of FOMO, get out of that scarcity mindset. Again, we all fall into it. It's easy to get to. Even the master himself, Tim, the powerful Matthews, powerful man Matthews gets into it. I do. Everybody does. And the key here is just do that. Chuckle, laugh, and just get right back on pace and take some action, guys. Like if there's an area of your life that you want to change, go after it, right? Seek some help. Go get that work done and do what you need to do. Time's going to pass. It just always passes. The one inevitable. Money comes and goes. All kinds of things come and go in your life, material possessions, but time is one of those things that goes and you can never give it back. So I'm going to implore you, as I always do, take action immediately, take action now, and guys, we'll see you soon. Take care. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. But as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. You see, there are two types of men that listen to a podcast like this. Those that go on from one podcast or show to another, just hoping things are going to change and realizing that they're going to be in the same place month after month, year after year. You see, I was this guy, so I completely get it. You may just not be ready. But there's also a second man that listens to a show just like this. And this is a guy who takes massive action so they can shorten the learning curve, compress time, and get results to be the wolf. See, wolf is an acronym for wise, open, loving, and fierce. Now, ask yourself, which one am I? And just be honest with yourself there. And there's no judgment on my end, but if you're ready to move from deactivated deer mode, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, to activated wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, then go over to thepowerfulman.com/grow and go there now. In fact, I'll make it super easy for you. I will even put the link right in the description here so you can just click it and go over there now to learn more. Guys, in the moment of insight, take massive action. Go from deactivated to activated because like I said, life is too short for average. And I'll see you on the next episode.